are now listening to Hope for Healing Radio with Angie Wynn, a program designed to inform, empower, and encourage. Good morning, Chattanooga. This is Angie Wynn with Hope for Healing Radio on Groove 93. This morning, we have yet another relevant topic that is pertinent to our society today, to our families today, and especially to single men and women. Our topic today is He Who Finds a Wife Finds a Good Thing, a single man's perspective. He who finds a wife finds a good thing, a single man's perspective. Our in-studio guests today are Pastor Dwight Harrison of the Rhema Alive Church here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Good morning, Pastor Harrison.
Good morning, Angie. Thank you for having me again.
So glad that you're here with us with this topic. We are excited about the insight that you'll bring. And we also have Terry Smith Jr. Most of you all in Chattanooga know him, and you know him as Smitty. He is a very good friend of mine. His mom, Faye, has been a mentor of mine. I love the Smith family. Good morning, Smitty.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. And you can meet Smitty if you have a need for a barber service at Blades on Brainerd Road, and he will be happy to get you fixed up just right. And also we have Daryl Clark, who is my sidekick here. Good morning, Daryl.
Good morning.
So glad to have you as always. So, gentlemen, we're going to get right to the subject. He who finds a wife finds a good thing, a single man's perspective. So I have some questions here, and I think I'm going to represent the ladies and hopefully get some insight to the gentlemen who are single. Is this the time and season when men still want a wife? That's a real question for us as singles. Is this the time and season when men still want a wife? Chime in, gentlemen.
Well, yes. I would say that. I would say that, yes, this is a time where most men that I know that are single do desire to be married again. Or be married for the first time.
Do y'all have those conversations?
Yeah, we have a few conversations, those that are open to conversation. We have a few conversations, and most of my single friends that either have been married or even those that have not been married are interested and willing and ready to be married again.
Oh, what are they doing to prepare?
Well, now that's another subject. That's something a little bit different. I mean, because then I have to throw the question out, are you ever really prepared?
Well, you can be prepared a little bit more than other times, but that's just a question for all. And again, for single women, what are we doing to prepare to be a wife? What are we doing to increase the desire for to be husbands and wives, and to know what that means?
I believe, and this is my personal opinion, I believe every man alive desires a mate. Is it the season? I believe it's the season, and even during this season, there should be some type of preparation, some breaking up in the man's spirit or in the man's soul to have him ready to receive that woman when she comes into his life. So the season, I believe, is always in existence for that man. The question is, are they ready to enter into that God-ordained season?
As a pastor, what do you think preparation involves?
Well, I can speak personally. Being single, it's not a challenge even sexually. I think what it takes involve whose agenda are we going to take into this relationship? How can two walk together unless they agree? What are we going to agree upon? Are we going to agree upon the finances? Who's going to handle the finances? Who's going to handle the children? What church are we going to go to? So there are an awful lot of variables, Angie, and listening audience, to what goes into that type of relationship.
You at least have to talk about it.
You had better do more than talk about it. Have some type of plan and pray about it. Yeah.
What do you think about, any of you, about third-party counseling as far as preparation?
I believe it could be helpful, but also building a relationship on communication. I'm seeing a lot of people drift away from the marriage concept And so what they're wanting to do, you know, being in the shop, a lot of guys, they'll call a woman their wife, but then when you talk to them long enough, it's just a woman that they live with.
Oh, wow.
And that's kind of more of an embraced norm that I'm seeing now.
Why do they say that is?
People have made the paper the enemy,
Wow.
the marriage license.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
How
So it's like
come?
I don't know.
Wow. Does it signify that you are locked into this responsibility, or you'll be held accountable, maybe?
Maybe the accountability factor. Talking to some guys, it's like, oh, well, that entitles her to half my stuff if we decide not to be together.
Well, now I can relate to that.
Well, I thought about, I was thinking about that, Smitty, when you said it, but then I was also wondering, could it possibly be that once you sign that paper, you don't have that easy way out? And we'll stay together all this time, but if, you know, something goes wrong, I don't really have to go through a lot of court stuff and all this because, like she said, you know, half and half or what have you. Is it that, you know, not so much the paper, but what the paper represents? You think that may be it? You know, that
Possibly.
Wow, that's really news to me. I didn't realize it was that widespread and widely accepted that you just, you know, kind of hang out together and, you know, I'm still on Netflix and chill, and how wrong that is, and not really dating. So you just call somebody your wife and you just living together? Wow. Okay, well, okay, so, which is a great segue to my next question. What are the qualities that make her a good thing and lead a man to want to wife a woman?
oh my.
That's a loaded question, I know.
Well, if we want to go scripturally, evenly yoked. But I used to think that meant the woman had to be on my level as far as spiritually. As I'm learning in the last year or two, it's not so much her being on my level spiritually, it's her having the same desire to learn as much as I'm wanting to learn.
That's great, Smitty. That's a good word. Because
So having the same desire to.
yes, because we're all in a process of learning and growing. But if the other person is going to be okay to be stagnant, that's not going to work.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Or at least for just a season it will.
Right.
That's right.
The honeymoon
That's true.
period. And then
Yeah.
because part of learning and growing is being challenged, you know, to get out of the same rut, doing the same thing you've been doing, expecting different results. They call insanity. But if you're going to share your life with someone, lives have to merge and understanding has to come. And some things have to fall off and be purged off. Exactly. So anybody else want to chime in? What's gonna make you wife her? What makes her a good thing?
To piggyback off what my brother Smitty was talking about as far as being equally yoked, I think it should balance out where no one person or two people should be carrying the entire burden in that relationship. I firmly believe that the man's weaknesses should be complemented by the woman's strengths, and the man's strengths should be complemented by the woman's weaknesses.
That's right.
To be, and a lot of times people go into relationships with a lopsided view. It's what they've been taught down through tradition instead of, just like you were talking about, the paper certificate. Marriage certificate is good, but what about the covenant agreement that God ordained marriage,
That's
not
right.
the courthouse?
Yes.
So consequently, when we start living by the worldly views, we're going to end up in worldly situations in any relationship.
That's good. Well, what about you, Daryl? What are some qualities that would make you wife someone?
She would have to be nurturing. She would have to be affirming. Because that's my makeup. That's what I need. And also, I guess I hate to put it in these terms, but she has to be, a church girl. But I'll say that a church woman. I need a church woman, but and I go further into that, but I'm not going to do that. That's another show.
We had that conversation.
We did.
I remember you said you like for her to dance and shout in church.
Yeah, that's it. I mean,
I don't think
you
it's
do that,
nothing
you got
wrong with
me.
that. That's a church
I can
girl.
work. Yeah, that's
a church girl thing. Yeah. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
You gonna tell her, or you just gonna let it happen spontaneously?
Oh, no,
Check her out.
I'll check that out. I have to sit back, even in, previous relationships, I would check that out from afar. And if I saw that, that would be the, that would be the
That would seal the deal.
That would seal the deal for me. If you're affirming, you're attentive, nurturing, and you get up and,
And you got the Holy Ghost.
Yeah, you got the Holy Ghost. So I tell you what, you got me wrapped. You got me wrapped.
I love it. So this has just come to mind as we're talking here. So as I, as a single woman, single again, and I'm speaking with lots of women who are single, of course, in my circle, we seem to think that, and it's been our experience that maybe we've dated someone and, we, love our femininity, Daryl and Smitty and Dwight, you've known me for a while now. My voice is usually pretty much right here. You all have never seen me clown. I have a very peaceful core, but it appears to us, now we may be wrong, that men are so used to hearing cussing and chaos and you so-and-so, well, I tell you what, you just blah, 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 and it's like, we don't talk like that. But it's almost like that's what they run to. The chaos and the drama makes you feel alive or something. And to us, that's not a good thing. Do you work in the barbershop? Smitty, what's that about? Help us
I beg
out.
to differ. It's actually more normal than abnormal to have a woman not go there. Mm-hmm. In my experience, even when you're talking to the individual seem like the calmer you are, the more they go off. And so I've met a few women that are, what word I want to use, that are mellow. Mm-hmm. But as far as, like I say, usually when the emotions get involved, we escalate and it just takes off. Mm-hmm. And so it's not the fact that the men run to it. It's just the fact that's more normal. Mm-hmm. You'll find that a lot easier than finding a woman another way.
Because the piece says that you have to communicate. I'm bringing this to the table and I just want to talk. But, the arguing and the fussing, I'm serious. In my circle, like when, somebody has a boyfriend or somebody that they're seeing, they'll say to me or the women that I know, well, you're so peaceful. You don't, you're not mad. No, we can just talk about it, and this is how I feel about it. And, maybe it's something that we can work on, but it's like men's ears these days are used to hearing a lot of bitterness and anger. And that's not anything against the women because, you may have reason to be bitter or angry, but I think that's something that we need to bring to the table that is a hindrance to real communication. Do you all agree?
I agree.
I agree.
Okay. All right. So Chattanooga, we are in for a lively discussion. There is more where this has come from. We have another segment coming up. We need to know what do men have a desire for to make them feel needed, So we're going to talk about that in the next segment. This is Hope for Healing Radio with Angie Wynn on Groove 93.
Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I be afraid? The Lord is my light and salvation. Whom shall I fear? Yeah. Whom shall I be afraid? I will wait on you. I will wait on you. Yes, I will trust in you. Yes, Lord, say, I will trust in you. Y'all help me. The Lord is my light. Everybody sing. The Lord is my light and salvation. Whom shall I fear? You say it. Whom shall I be afraid? No. The Lord is my light and salvation. Whom shall I fear? No. Whom shall I be? I will wait on you. Raise your voice. Say, I will wait on you. Yeah. trust in you. The next part goes like this. Listen, I want you to go home singing this. I will remain confident in this. I will see the goodness of the Lord. Come on, you say it. I will remain confident in this.
Good morning, Chattanooga. We are back. This is Hope for Healing Radio on Groove 93. This is Angie Wynn, and I have some in-studio guests that are helping me to discuss the topic, He Who Finds a Wife Finds a Good Thing, a Single Man's Perspective. We have Pastor Dwight Harrison of the Rhema Alive Church, Terry Smith Jr., who you all know as Smitty, as well as my sidekick, Daryl Clark. And so in this segment, Daryl, you'd like to pose the question to the gentlemen who are here?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, my brothers, now we do know that we as men, or some of us men, do have a desire to feel needed. What does that look like for either one of you?
I don't ever again want to feel needed in a relationship. I want to feel wanted, because what happens when you feel needed, you become codependent upon the individual.
Yes.
And if I can just make it plain, it's like, you all know what a leech is. A leech is really a parasite that attaches itself to somebody or some form,
Right.
and wherever that form goes, that leech has to go.
Wow.
So you don't ever want to be codependent, and I'm not speaking in an arrogant way, because God placed us men to want to have that need to feel wanted, not needed. And when we lose that role, then we become codependent in relationships, and that won't work.
And I mean, just off of that revelation that you just gave right there, I feel like now, looking back, that I have always confused being needed with being appreciated. I see that now. So as to where now, I've always been saying, I need to feel needed. I just really like to know that you appreciate what I'm doing.
Oh, respected. We want to
Respect,
be
absolutely.
respected, don't we? I think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
With that being said, with the needed as opposed to appreciation, that also changes up her role as far as her investment in you. If somebody really appreciates you, they're going to do stuff from the bottom of their heart, whereas if they're needed, they have a motive.
Wow.
Ooh,
that's
that's
good,
That's
Smitty.
real good.
So there's a means to an end if you feel needed, instead of just being loved and wanted and appreciated. You do it from the bottom of your heart just because of the way you love that person.
Right.
That's
it kills
good.
the manipulation aspect of it.
Wow.
That's what I was getting ready to say, because sometimes I have been in situations, I'll say that, looking back, that maybe that appreciation that I was getting was really a manipulation tool to get what they wanted.
Right.
Wow.
And we won't be using any names. I'm just, we having a talk. We on the radio here.
So how much so what does wanted look like? Does that look like, we like flowers and candy and texts and phone calls. So what does wanted look like to you guys?
Respect,
Okay.
admiration,
Words.
validation. Because if we don't get respect, validation, and admiration from our women, then we're gonna go elsewhere. That's how we're wired.
Yes.
And God forbid that we are not maintained by one of the qualities of the Holy Spirit, which is self-control. Because if that quality isn't there, then we're prone to wonder.
Yes.
And prone to get into things that we shouldn't do.
That's so right.
Yeah.
What about you, Dwight? Daryl, what does that look like for you to be wanted? Words of affirmation and
Definitely words of affirmation. I used to have a former pastor that used to always say, thank you makes room for more. So I've always been built that, that's what drives me. If you affirm me and you tell me even the smallest little things, man, I appreciate you doing X, Y, Z. That gets me so excited to keep walking in my role, not just, just to get the praise, but just to know that that's how you feel about me, that you really, I appreciate you. I thank you for being a good provider, things of the like. So that's how I'm wired. That's what it looks like for me.
how important is it now? This was years ago. There was a group of women, maybe 5 or 6 women, who I met them at breakfast, and they wanted me to just, I don't know. I was just saying some encouraging words to them. And they were all married. I was just going through a divorce, and they were, just really talking bad about their husbands. And now these were women who, their husbands provided for them. Their husbands loved them and showed love to them. And here I was, having been discarded. And so I said to them, you all are in a position where you need to be, putting little notes in his, lunch, box. You need to be, getting keys in an envelope in his car saying, meet me here, after work, and just doing little sweet nothings, to encourage your husbands. Why are you speaking about them like this? Because from where I stand, you're in a good place. So how important is it for a woman to keep up the spice, and all of us have been married before. So how important is it for her to be the one that extends that olive branch and say, come hither?
Well, I think that goes back to the appreciation thing. If you really appreciate me, just like if I appreciate you, you put yourself aside. Mm-hmm. And so it's about that other individual. And that's a concept that we lost in today's society. Everything is about me, me, me. So that's why you would have that type mentality with people that's married, mm-hmm. because it's always been like, manipulative, mm-hmm. From the get-go. But if you really look at someone and, I appreciate them, or we go to loving them like Christ loved us. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? We didn't owe, or we didn't have nothing to give him for him to love us.
Right.
He just loved us automatically, whether we gave it back or not. And so if we can get that mentality, then you start having people start,
mm-hmm.
Working towards those type mentalities, I think.
I think it's important. I think it's important that you go on adventures. I think it's important that you, see your spouse in a different light. If they're hanging around the house in a wife beater and some sweatpants, that's not cute after a while. I need to be at a hotel in the Bahamas with my husband in a suit going out to dinner with him speaking to the concierge about our car coming around. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yes.
That puts him in a different, is that too much for y'all?
No, that's not too much. I like that kind of stuff. So
I like it. I just don't think it's appreciated anymore.
Well, you have to see each other in a different light, because mundane is just that, mundane, and it's boring. So, you need to look at different things. You need to go to the beach. You need to go to the mountains. You need to go and see history. You need to go to the park. You need to visit, a grand hotel and stay there. You need to do different things to keep your life together, even as friends, not just lovers, but as friends, if you're moving toward marriage. And I think the dating process will let you know that that's what that person is about, and will keep your interest. You need somebody who will keep your interest,
Well, to piggyback off of that as well, Angie, one of the things that I, would like to share from a man's point of view is, yes, it's great to have a getaway. Mm-hmm. It's wonderful to stay at a 5-star hotel.
Yes.
It's wonderful for us to get dressed up. I like to get dressed up. I want to talk to the concierge about bringing the car around. However,
yes,
when we get back home, mm-hmm. just like you don't want to see me and my wife beat in shorts.
Yes.
I don't want to see your head wrapped up in rollers.
That's right.
I don't want to see you in sweats. Let's keep whatever momentum was going when we were at that 5-star.
Yes.
Let's bring it on home.
That's good.
And so, just to say, this spice it up, not just when we're going out of town.
Right.
Let's keep it spicy during the week.
That's
so
good,
then
Daryl.
out of town would just be a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
But even if we never get to make it out of town, the spice is still alive right where we are.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good. Anybody else want to add anything?
Y'all summed it up.
I know you got some nuggets, Pastor. You got some nuggets for us.
Well, I think that makes her a good thing. As a woman, we need to change it up. It's like, okay, I'm already thinking about my summer hair. Okay, this was the winter hair. So you need to look different, and I look totally different from short hair and spikes to curly hair. And so, that to me, that keeps interest, that keeps, why y'all laughing? You agree?
We agree.
But I mean, it just does. And I think as women, we have a responsibility to do that, and that keep your, we're body, soul, and spirit, and all of those things minister to a man.
I think a man should study two things: the Bible and his woman. Because when you study the Bible, you're going to find out how your woman operates. And when you study your woman, you're going to know the tendencies that she has. You're going to know the things that turns her on, turns her off. I heard it was a song. I wish I could take this quote and make it famous, Smitty and Pastor Daryl. Eddie Levert in the OJ song said, "A relationship is nothing without communication." That's in my spirit to this very day. So to sum it all up, I think that if we can continue to communicate to each other in a relationship, find out what she likes, find out what I like, we can roll like that.
Yeah, that's true.
That's good. Okay, I have a question. How are men feeling in this day and time? We have about 2 minutes when the woman makes more money than him. Is that a deal breaker?
Well, it's not a deal breaker for me. And the reason is, if we are entered into a marriage and we are covenant, then we're building together. Okay. And you never know when the tides are going to turn. But, if we building this together, we're bringing this in together, I don't see a problem with that at all.
I think most men have an issue when the woman holds it over his head, especially in anger.
There you go.
That might come up a few times.
And so then when you do that, you lessen his manhood. You know what I'm saying? So
I was advised when I was doing premarital with my husband, ex-husband, I was advised that the Bible says where your treasure is, that's where your heart is going to be. And he told me, if you aren't willing to put your name together with his on your checking account, then you don't need to marry him. And I was like, oh, clutch my pearls, really? And so, but it was, when we did premarital counseling with him, I couldn't argue with the word. And so I did that like the day after we got married. And unfortunately, it wasn't a good thing because the responsibility was not there to be a good steward or a faithful steward over the finances. But I still believe, I'm not bitter about it. And God has worked miraculous things in my life regarding finances. But I still believe that's the right thing to do because the word is true. Where your money, your heart follows your money. And having money together makes you communicate. Having money together makes you honest. And you have to be trustworthy. And all of those things are a part of that. So Chattanooga, we are discussing he who finds a wife finds a good thing, a single man's perspective. Please join us again for the next segment. This is Hope for Healing Radio with Angie Wynn on Groove 93.
Together for my good. working for my it's good, real good. Said it's working for my good. This is my season for grace, for I need somebody to prophesy with your body language. Just say, what you say? God is leaning in my direction. Don't prophesy. I said he's leaning. In whose direction? In my direction. Come on, you waiting on me to say it. You gotta say it.
Good morning again, Chattanooga. This is Angie Wynn with Hope for Healing Radio, and we are discussing the topic, he who finds a wife finds a good thing, a single man's perspective. Our in-studio guests are Pastor Dwight Harrison of the Rhema Alive Church, Terry Smith Jr., who you all know as Smitty, and Daryl Clark. And in this segment, we want to talk about cheating. Now, gentlemen, all of us women, not just single but married, cannot believe that Jay-Z cheated on Beyonce, because to us, you know, whatever beliefs there are about her and her spirituality, she is one of the most beautiful, shapely women in the world. She has, she makes a ton of money, you know, and so why would somebody cheat on her? So what are the average single women who don't look like Beyonce? What are we to do? What are, competition is fierce. There is a word in Isaiah 4:1 that says there is a season where 7 women will take hold of one man in that day, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own clothes. Only let us be called by your name. Take away our shame. Which says, will you marry us? 7 women to one man. And I believe in this day it's probably 25 women to one man. So how, do we compete? What are we to do when the competition is so fierce and you all have, just the world at your feet as far as choosing a woman?
Well,
I know all that's loaded. You can handle it.
I'm going to say that kind of proves the fact that it has nothing to do with looks.
Right.
You never know what's happening behind closed doors. The woman can be the most gorgeous thing ever in the world created, but if she's full of hell at home, that opens up the doors for a lot of other things to happen.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Mm-hmm. Anybody else want to tackle that?
What was the question again?
It was loaded. It was loaded.
What was the question again?
Okay.
So, since Jay-Z, women are saying, single and married, since Jay-Z cheated on Beyonce, who is, the most beautiful woman that you could probably think of, and who has all of these qualities afforded her, including financially, what is the average woman to do in that, there's lots of women. There's probably 25 women to one man. So what are we to do as far as making ourselves, ripe for the picking? Who rises to the top to be wifed?
Only one thing set the average woman apart from Beyonce, and that's money. So when a woman starts comparing herself to another woman, or another man starts comparing himself to another man, then you're in trouble. I think we should find our significance to our identity in Christ. As far as Jay-Z cheating, perhaps there's something lacking in his life. On the flip side of that, maybe that was a business proposition. We never know in that record world what was going on behind closed doors for why and when.
That's very true.
Absolutely.
I think that we also heard what he said, in his interview. He said, she is an amazing woman. We women look for what you didn't say. So he didn't say, I love her. She's the mother of my children. He didn't say that. He talked about her, from what our ears understood, as an artist, as a business person. And that's not what we want to hear. So where does the love for someone that you want to wife come from? What are the qualities in that woman? Then we're talking, I mean, you know, we know the church answer, but what is it for the average man?
Well, I think that kind of is different towards, you know, each case or whatever. I know that me in my dealings, it has to be based off the communication now. If I met a woman and we became physical, that's not going to drive my love for her. You understand what I'm saying? Whereas I'm a like I like writing. So like if I send a woman a poem or something like that and she reads it and tries to understand it, that opens up way more doors mentally and emotionally for me as opposed to us laying down together.
You mean as far as like something coming from your soul, your creativity, your character? That's rich, Smitty. That's good. That's good. Yes. Anybody else?
The qualities that I look for in a woman, first of all, we as men, we have to do our role, nurture, cherish, love, sacrifice, and all of that. But on the flip side of that, I think women should be transparent. They should. And this is the tricky part, guys, when people start being transparent and accountable and vulnerable. If that other person isn't transparent, then he's going to manipulate and bring about deception into that relationship. Perhaps that's what happened in the Beyonce and Jay-Z affair. I don't know. But personally, transparency, and when you can tell when a woman has a deep, intimate relationship with God. You can tell.
Yes.
And if that's in place, everything else will fall in place in that relationship.
You and I had a conversation, Dwight, in recent days about a kingdom man and a kingdom woman. Can you expound on that?
Sure. When two people come together and they understand it's not just a marriage certificate, but it's really a relationship that was ordained by God. When they understand that and they line their lives up, every area of their life, the finances, sexuality, spirituality, physical, all of that under the lordship of Jesus Christ, that's a kingdom man, that's a kingdom woman. They're operating under the comprehensive rulership of Matthew 6:33. Seek you first. What's the most important thing in this relationship? It's God. Everything else, God has given us a principle. Seek me first. Make me the most important thing in your life and your relationship. Everything will fall in place.
That's good.
Yeah.
So now that is the right answer. And you know, I'm just still coming at y'all with stuff because when you get to the barbershop, they talking about like that at talking about it like that at Rhema Alive. That's perfect. But when you get to the barbershop over here with Smitty, what are you saying? Or at your workplace, what are you saying? And I think that's where women are getting confused because we know the church answer too, but it seems like the church girls are not winning.
Well, I mean, I get that. I can see how you would feel that way. But one of the most important things for me is self-confidence. You are a self-confident woman. You are, and being self-confident does not necessarily mean you have it all together.
Right.
Okay, so, but just self-confident, spiritual. You know, you do have some type of spiritual background. I mean, those things are great attributes to me.
I agree. It just, we just want to, that's not in a dating situation or, talking to girlfriends. That's not what we hear. So, if you're at your workplace, when you're at Rhema Alive, when you're at the barbershop, is someone bringing those things out to reel the men who are not right there in? That's the question that we have as well.
Now, Angie, I live in the real world. I'm not just at Rhema Alive. I have flesh, desires, and all that. I'm not in church 24/7. Well, I don't. I'm sorry.
I don't look like you're ready to preach. And that's a compliment. That's a compliment.
Thank you.
But I'm just bouncing that off of each other. I get that. Yes.
But I think even in the barbershop, guys come there we think about sex. We think about making our wives or girlfriends happy. We think about all of that, don't we? Even in the real world, and what would please her. And,
surely.
Yes.
One of the things I get in the barbershop is the church girls are just that, churched girls. They're not, as far as where the Bible calls for womanhood, a lot of them hadn't embraced that. And so what you have is two individuals that never created that one flesh. And so it's like they co-living. You know, I'm me and you, but we're not uniting and becoming one.
You've not moved to oneness.
Right.
And who really knows what that means? I tell couples in counseling, I have to explain that a lot. And I believe, y'all know I always have a timetable, but I believe that 7 is God's number of completion. I believe that it takes about that time, 7 years, to really get to know each other. And there's a 5-year thing where 5 is the number for grace, where you know, are dealing with, okay, now I see all of your imperfections. Now I know and understand how you respond or react, you know, either maturely or immaturely. And when you add those 5 years for grace, lots of people get divorced. Well, 7 and 5 is 12, but lots of people get divorced in that 13th year. I did. Wow. I did. And so, I mean, that's, God has a design and he has a plan. And I'm like you, Smitty, it's got to be communication. You have got to stay at the table talking about it, and not just talking about it, acting on it. That's so important. And I think you've said that too as well, Pastor Harrison.
And when Smitty was talking about church girls, women, because of what they're going through, they're like a Tootsie Roll pop. Oh. They're hard on the outside, but deep down inside, there's a lot of love. There's a lot of compassion. There's a lot of giving, a lot of things that she's sheltering because she can't trust anymore.
Right.
Men are like that. Some men are like that too. Some men are like a Tootsie Roll pop. Hard. We want to appear that we're hard and rigid and stern, but deep down inside, every person wants to feel love, every last one of us.
That's right. And you have spoken well when you said there's so many gifts and treasures inside of us, because not only do we birth children, we birth vision, we birth blessing. We have so much that we can bring to the table for a man and even his family at this age that we're at. But you have to be willing to get through. And I think that men have to exercise a lot of patience, which, you know, it's not necessarily a thing that people want to do because it's instant gratification. But if you go, y'all laughing, okay, across the board, if you go across the board, what woman can you find that's not been hurt, that's not been disappointed? So who's going to be willing to, you know, get through that outer shell of, you know, being not being trusted and, you know, maybe having questions? So who's going to be willing to do that these days?
Well, everyone has been hurt. One of the things I used to run in one of my relationships was, I say, when do you stop acknowledging and start addressing it? Okay? The acknowledgement alone is not going to cure the hurts.
That's true.
You addressing it is what's going to happen. A lot of people don't want to address it. Most of the time when they get out of a relationship, they go jump right back in another one. If you look at any social media, on with my boo, and then you be like, that's not the picture that was up this last week.
You're exactly right. They moved on to the next one.
Right.
That's right.
And so a lot of times
true.
we're not addressing the hurts. You know, we're going to blame whatever on the next person and then keep it moving.
You're
and
absolutely right. That's not healthy, and it's not helping. Chattanooga, we hope that you're enjoying our discussion on He Who Finds a Wife Finds a Good Thing, a Single Man's Perspective. This is Hope for Healing Radio with Angie Wynn on Groove 93. Please join us for the last segment.
Empty me. Oh, God, if you find anything that's not like you, I want you to take it away. When you search my heart, God, if you find anything that's not like you, take it away. Empty me.
Chattanooga, we are back. This is Hope for Healing Radio with Angie Wynn on Groove 93. We are discussing the topic, He Who Finds a Wife Finds a Good Thing, a Single Man's Perspective. Our in-studio guests are Pastor Dwight Harrison of the Rhema Alive Church, Terry Smith Jr., who you all know as Smitty, and Daryl Clark, who's my sidekick that's always here with us. So, Daryl, you have a question. You wanted to bring up a particular thing as far as being single and maybe just going from one relationship to another so quickly.
Well, just speaking from experiences that I have witnessed, I'll put it that way. It's hard to go from, or not, let me take that back. Not hard. It's probably easy to go from relationship to relationship, but you should not jump out of one relationship that was an absolute train wreck and jump into another one, because what tends to happen is you bring whatever your role was in messing up that former relationship into your new relationship.
Yes.
And what I have seen happen many times is, you blame everything on that first relationship, and I wouldn't have done that if she hadn't have done this, and she did this, and this, that, and the other. Well, now she's nowhere in the picture, or he's nowhere in the picture. So now when you are in your new relationship and these same problems are existing, whether you want to admit it or not, who's to blame?
Right.
What is the common denominator in this? Because that old relationship is dead, gone, and they're across town.
But you took you with you.
Yeah. You can't get away from you.
Yes.
You can get away from a whole lot, but you can't get away from you.
That's exactly right.
And no matter how much of a facade you put up, you is going to peek out its head at some point.
Yes.
You're going to forget all that stuff, and then here come you.
Yes. And if your woundedness and your not being healed was bleeding on the other relationship, your addictions and all that you hadn't dealt with, you just gonna bleed more on the other folk. You know?
And you know what? And bleeding it's not an easy fix, because we're not talking about a paper cut.
Right.
We're talking about a gash.
Yes.
That needs stitches and some more things to heal. So I have been in a situation. My divorce was final in 2014. I entered into another relationship in 2016, and I was still bleeding.
Yeah. You have to spend that time alone and take some inventory. And I think that we all think, that's how I did, in 2 years. My thing is a 2-year thing, and I can be alone for 2 years. But at that 2-year mark, it's like, okay, Angie, that's enough. You need some arms around you. You need a smile. You need a man's voice. And then it's just like, okay, the issues that you have and the issues that I have just not even working with each other. And so, you can stay in the relationship together if you both are committed to work on those issues. You can be together and do that, but that's hard to find that matchup, whether it's male or female, who's not willing. So it's important to do that. You got to get healed. You got to deal with those wounds, and you got to stop bleeding on everybody. You got to take some time and see what the issues are and die to self. That's a hard death. To die to yourself and the things that you want and the things that have satisfied you, whether or not, again, it's addictions, whether or not it's serial relationships, whether or not somebody feeding your pride and ego. It's hard to die to you. And
it's important, Angie, to remember that Band-Aids without medicine lead to infection.
That's
you can
good,
put a Band-Aid
Daryl.
on it. You don't have any medicine on it. All you've done is cover it up. That's going to lead to infection, and we all know what infection leads to.
Yeah, it's going to loss of limbs or even death.
Right.
Absolutely. For sure. I see it every day. So, gentlemen, I have 2 questions or 2 challenges for you as we close out this segment in our broadcast. What is the best advice? Let's start with the best advice you can give to single women who need to present themselves as good things and want to be a wife. What's the best advice that you can give to single women? We're listening.
The first thing I would say would be stop betting men. Force men to communicate with you. With that communication, you can see where it's going, how deep that you can get. But with the betting is a distraction.
It is.
And I know that sounds like, the the super churchy thing, whatever. But the few relationships that I've done that, I have a bigger connection emotionally
Yes.
to the woman as opposed to any other way.
That's good. That's right. And that's true. And that's the word. That's right.
Do you want me to talk like I'm at the barbershop or
Rainbow Live?
or at Rainbow Live?
Both. Since you're capable of both, let's just hear both.
Just be real.
Yes.
Just
That's good.
be real, because we are all made in the image of God. The next relationship I go into, I'm going to realize she's got flaws. She's got things that have happened. She has a past history. The quest for me will be, okay, Lord, I need your wisdom to show me how to handle what you sent into my life this time. So just be real, be who God made you to be. And sometimes that's difficult because we all have egos. We all have egos. So we have to, like you said, Angie, die to self.
Can be real be translated into don't lie?
You want the barbershop answer? Or the,
Yes, I want the barbershop answer on that one.
Yeah, no, just be real. Just be
Yes.
transparent.
Just be transparent.
Yeah.
People are more willing to deal with whatever it is if you just tell the truth about it. We really are, particularly as women. Daryl.
Well, we've got to be real already, but take it easy. If I had to give any type of advice, take it easy. I know we are considered the microwave generation, but everything doesn't have to be done in a split second.
Right.
Take it easy, enjoy yourself, enjoy each other, and get to know that person.
That's good. That's good. So now what would be your advice for single men who want and desire a wife? Smitty?
You had to go to me first. Huh?
Yes. I'm going to start hanging out at the barbershop so I can listen. I might learn some stuff.
That would kind of be hard. Because I don't know. Those conversations we kind of don't have at the barbershop. Usually some girl that they've been with and it's kind of just, I accept it. I don't know. Let me pass on that one for a second.
Okay. We'll come back to you if you want to. Yes. Yes. Dwight, what advice would you give to single men who want to be married, who want a wife?
Women are not just a piece of meat. They're not to be physically undressed. The best advice for a man that I would give, the same advice I give to my son: know who you are and know who God is making you to become. Because when you know who you are and what God is making you to become, then you'll uncover the hidden tendencies in your life, your weaknesses, and the things that will keep you from becoming that dream man the woman out there is looking for. That's the best advice I would give.
That's good. Daryl?
Prepare yourself for your role as a husband. Don't go into a relationship or a courtship acting as if you're already a husband or trying to be a husband, but prepare yourself for your role as a husband. Watch your finances. Make sure you can take care of things like that, because when you become that lead role, you don't want to wait until you're already married to start trying to get it together. Get it together, and bring something to the table.
That's good. And not just financially and physically, but emotionally.
Exactly.
Because women are emotional creatures.
And I'm speaking from experience. I'm not just dumping off on my brothers. I'm telling you, you don't make the same mistakes that I've made.
Absolutely.
So that's it.
And we all here know what that's like. But it's good to have hope, to have God do a new thing in your life in love and marriage. And I think that all of us agree that we do hope for that. Some of us have a little more faith than others, but we do hope for that. So, Pastor Harrison, could you bless the people who are single and encourage them, please, sir?
Yeah. And that applies to all of us in the control room here this morning. You're not average nor mediocre. We were wonderfully made. God was meticulous when he thought out how we were going to look. and that brings about the significance in us. We are very important to God. We're important to God. So blessings to you, whoever you are. You're significant. You are not mediocre. You are not average. God meticulously thought out how you were going to look, and you were in the image of God. So blessings to you.
Well, gentlemen, thank you. It's been a very informative hour. I know I've learned some things, and I know that Chattanooga, you have been blessed as well as informed and empowered and encouraged. And we thank you so much to listening to Hope for Healing Radio. This is Angie Wynn, and I would love for you to tell others that the broadcast is here. We also have a YouTube channel. If you search Hope for Healing Radio, you will find the previous broadcast archived, and we usually have the Sunday broadcast up either that day or the next day, where you can like and share and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'd also like for you to visit my page on Facebook, Angie Wynn, and we are looking forward to getting a Hope for Healing Radio page and just progressing so that we can communicate well with you, our listeners. So thank you again, in studio guest. We appreciate your wisdom and your transparency for sure. Chattanooga, we are blessed that you listen to us. Please continue to tune in to Hope for Healing Radio with Angie Wynn on Groove 93. Be blessed. Thank you for listening to Hope for Healing Radio with me, Angie Wynn. I hope our discussion has helped you on your journey to healing and wholeness. Be sure to listen Sunday mornings from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Groove 93.